104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. We were hoping to talk to Kesty about the Yankees in the World Series. That obviously didn't work out. Marc Kestecher, Gilliland's Zone, joining us right now. Kesty, you're doing the studio gig for the World Series. You do play-by-play for just about every sport. You do. I'm pretty sure that you are the janitor on the weekends in Bristol.
Somebody's got to clean it up.
But like in all seriousness, like you're a jack of all trades. Which one's your favorite?
Wow. Well, I think when I got into the business and all I really wanted to do was NBA play-by-play, I didn't know it was going to take me 20 years to get my shot. And now here we are, almost 30 years on. It's probably easy for me to say NBA play-by-play by far, is number one by far. I love being a part of the World Series studio, and a lot of people have asked. I'm like the only guy in Bristol, by the way, so I think the other 1,900 on-air personalities are all on the road. So I do the studio, and then as soon as we're off at like 1 in the morning, I will clean up Studio 1 and Studio 2, and I'll vacuum a little bit and make sure it's all looking good for Mike and Mike the next day. I do enjoy being a part of the World Series coverage. I would love to be there. It would be awesome. But it is kind of cool to do it from my side as well. It's a little different. It's nice to have a small little piece to be a part of that broadcast because we have so many talented guys on the other end.
Kesty, take a picture of yourself sneezing on Greenberg's door handle.
My wife would like me to take a picture of me vacuuming because she knows that's not happening there, and it doesn't happen here at home either. Unless instructed, of course.
Of course, right. The series is tied up 1-1. Why were the Astros able to come back and win that game against the Dodgers in Game 2?
Their bats just woke up. It's so hard to figure out baseball, isn't it? I mean, that thing was done the way the Dodgers bullpen had been pitching, and Marwin Gonzalez, in the second inning of a Kenley Jansen save, which he's usually pretty much lights out even in the 3+ save opportunities. So for Gonzalez to just place a shock into everybody for the Dodgers, and then I would like to say baseball has momentum where that carries over, and then they have the back-to-back homers in the 10th. But then who saw the Dodgers coming back in the bottom of the 10th inning? I'm sure even Dodgers fans who, in their wildest dreams, had hoped for yet another comeback in this season that has been filled with comebacks, wasn't anticipating that. And then even when Houston went in front of the 11th, I still wasn't sure this was over, and with Puig coming up with 2 outs, you thought maybe there's a chance it wasn't over. So it's hard to put your finger on what changed, but sometimes, like in basketball, you see it go through the net once, and then it happens. I don't think that really truly works for baseball, but it sure seemed like it in those last 3 innings the other night.
I had a borderline meltdown the other day because I'm saying our manager's over-managing. I'm watching Rich Hill out there. He's doing a great job. 1 run allowed, close to double-digit strikeouts. He comes out less than 70 pitches. It seems like the sabermetric guys were taking over. Are managers across baseball just over-managing?
I think so. I mean, we've seen this the last few years, and then other specific managers, like the LaRussas and guys who are out in front of a different way in the Maddens now of looking at things, and now it's proliferated, the entire managerial scope of baseball, just about everybody. I mean, I feel like a dinosaur, having been on the earth now for almost 50 years and most of it watching baseball, and you kind of feel like go with your gut a little bit. I understand third time around the rotation, things change and batting averages go up, but they're still averages. And even if a guy's hitting 400 third time around, he's still going to make out 60% of the time. So for me personally, I've felt we've been going in this over-managing direction for a long time, but that's the state of baseball now. It's becoming even more the accepted state of baseball, and I don't think it's changing, but it's you could look at it and you could make a very valid point that they wouldn't have been in an inning-plus situation for Kenley Jansen, if Hill gets at least another inning, or maybe if he's pitching as well as he was, you gave the pitching number right there. He wasn't even at 80 that point. Maybe he has an effective inning and you get to another inning and you make it even easier for your bullpen. So, yeah, that's just where we are right now. We're in matchups. We're in late-game matchups, and as the guy whose sole job in-game is to be ready for pitching changes, I'm always ready in October.
Marc Kestecher with us right now. He is the studio host for the World Series for ESPN. And and Yankee fans have been saying this for at least a week or two now. Why in the world are the Astros so good in Houston?
Yeah, that place, and from what I'm hearing, the roof is going to be closed for all 3 games. It's a little cooler. I think there's a chance of rain, so it probably would have been closed tonight anyway. When that roof closes, and I don't do a lot of play-by-play for baseball, but the second to last weekend I had the Astros and Angels in Houston, and it was my first or second time in the building. I think first time. And there's a difference. When that noise does not escape and it reverberates, that's a home field advantage. Now, you got to do something with it. You got to put some balls in play. You got to hit some home runs. It's a lot like Yankee Stadium in that it's a bit of a bandbox, which works for that lineup. It goes both ways. So if they're pitching well, it's loud. It's a little bit intimidating. I'm not a huge believer in baseball and home field advantage, but that's one of them. And it seems like in every game they've played this postseason at home, they have hit well. The crowd's been ignited, and it's been tough on the opposition. Now, the Dodgers are a pretty good lineup, too, maybe better than any of the teams they've faced so far there in Boston and the Yankees. So maybe the Dodgers will have something to say about quieting those fans as well.
Tonight, Yu Darvish, Lance McCullers, is there an advantage for either side of this matchup?
Well, I think for Darvish, having pitched there many times as a member of the Rangers, including this year, he's had success against Houston. They've gotten him as well, so that probably goes both ways. But I think Darvish will feel comfortable on that mound, today. And for McCullers, I mean, that was a guy who had that, tired arm in September. He was telling everybody, he wants to be a player in the postseason, but the way Brad Peacock had pitched, the way Charlie Morton had pitched, he didn't have a spot. And then he comes out of the bullpen and throws 4 scoreless innings in the deciding game against the Yankees, and I think he threw about 24 or 28 straight curveballs, not even hanging one, just nice, successful, well-placed curves. And I think he showed A.J. Hinch that he's ready to be a player, and even went in front of Morton for this Game 3 start tonight. So even though it's in the bandbox, I like when on paper we've got these potential for great pitching matchups like we saw in Game 1, and like we mostly saw in Game 2 until things got away in the late innings. We could be in for a well-pitched game tonight.
Kestecher with us right now. Kesty, as we lovingly call him back here in Gildan, the Cap region. A little bit of a shock for us here that Girardi has parted ways with the Yankees, and I know your main focus has been the World Series, but can you recall a time or a situation or make sense of this where a guy takes his team to Game 7 in the ALCS and then he's shown the door?
I would love to cite one for you, but it's just I'm thinking even as a whole, to see John Farrell, Dusty Baker, Joe Girardi, 2 of those 3 division winners, all 3 in the postseason, and as you just pointed out, Girardi got them to Game 7 and 1 win from the World Series. He also was, 1 loss away in 3 decisive games in the division series of being knocked out after that, awful Game 2 that he had. From what it sounds like, and I really wasn't around the Yankees this year, but just from what it sounds like, there was obviously a disconnect somewhere between the front office, the manager. Like we talked earlier, the front office has so much more power these days in, dictating the players they want, how they want them to be played, situations, matchups, all that stuff. Girardi is probably in my dinosaur category as well. And as much as he is into the analytics, and we see that, he's, I guess, affectionately known as the binder, right? Yeah. That, he's always looking at those matchups. There's still some gut in him, which I kind of like, and probably a lot of Yankee fans like as well. But, there comes a time, 10 years in New York, I always say, is like 25 years in Cleveland. I mean, it's a long time in that city to handle it, and we'll wait and see and hear more in depth from Girardi if, it's a family thing and he's got kids that are in high school and in college, and I guess his son's a pretty good baseball player. Maybe he wants to take a year off. Maybe he wants to rush in and get that Nationals job while it's still open with a team that, is poised to win again, or at least try to get past the division series. So now I'm fascinated to see who they bring in here with this young Yankee team that seems to be, like we all have been saying, ahead of schedule, and yet almost got to the World Series. Marc
Kestecher, we appreciate you. That is a good point. The 20 years equal 10 in New York. I'd like them to do that. You know what they do with the president? Like after the first 4 years, they show how much they age. We should probably do the Girardi morph.
It's funny because we all remember him hitting that triple against Maddox in the World Series, and they showed video of it yesterday, and he had a little bit more hair, obviously, and it was dark, and he looked a little younger. And Girardi looks great for his age. I'd love to be in that shape for the age he is. But you could see those hollow eyes and the grayish hair, and it is just like the president. Give him 4 years, and you will not look like you looked the day you walked into 1600 Pennsylvania Ave.
Cassie, we look forward to listening to you in the studio, and of course, play-by-play. You got an NBA play-by-play coming up.
Yeah, next Friday we'll have I'll be with Hubie Brown, my radio partner from the end of last season, doing the Celtics and the Thunder. Carmelo Anthony and the Thunder next Friday. So I look forward to getting back into the NBA swing of things soon.
Kesty, if you say Carmelo, Goz cries.
Well, I'm a Syracuse guy.
For you.
Yeah, do that. Now, let me talk to the guys in Albany. Syracuse guy, Goz back in Albany. He's feeling weird that Carmelo's no longer a Knick and he's a part of the Thunder.
I couldn't even have anticipated that in my wildest dreams before that trade had happened. But
yeah.
I can't wait to see what it looks like. I mean, it's been pretty good for Russell Westbrook so far. His numbers, aren't too far off, and Paul George, it looks like to me a 1-year thing. I got to get a little deeper into it. I'm looking forward to get down there and seeing what everyone's mindset is. But at least for this year, it's an interesting pairing and keeps OKC relevant. Every time I go to Oklahoma City, I think it might be the last after Kevin Durant left, and then before Russell Westbrook signed his big contract. And now we're going back, and I think I'll have a few more OKC trips before it's over.
Well, safe travels and all those, Kesty. We appreciate you, brother.
You got it. We'll talk to you guys soon.